the Healing Through Love podcast with Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. Erin Parsley shares her healing journey from being traumatised by childhood-filled emotion, verbal and sexual abuse to thriving in a state of self-love and self-actualisation.
And this was a long time before the Me Too movement became more popular in the public consciousness. So it was before the Me Too movement. So I essentially was doing my own Me Too movement. And again, this was way back before this conversation was acceptable in public. So it took a ton of courage for me to be able to stand up for myself and speak about it finally and make this very public stand against what had happened to me.
Absolutely. And from what I can hear is that it started with that level of intention. So for listeners, what are you setting as your intention? What could that look like? And then I heard you say the words that you rescued yourself. And so sometimes we need to rescue ourselves. We need to start with that level of intention. And then we need to, be our own hand that helps us move forward. And then I heard you say, take back your power. And how can
the Healing Through Love podcast with Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. The Healing Through Love podcast with host Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson would love to acknowledge Global Glamping Charities Incorporated for generously supporting this podcast. Global Glamping Charities, solving homelessness in all of its forms. Reach out to them at globalglamping.org.
Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Charlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Welcome to the Healing Through Love podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Lynch from charlenelynch.com. Healing Through Love is a social enterprise whose vision is to shift awareness on domestic and family violence within the community and support victims and survivors. Our mission is to provide family and domestic violence survivors with a soft place to land by offering advice and services available to them and their families. We interview expert authorities in and around their stories, how they've got to where they are, whether it is that they're a healer or they've themselves experienced domestic abuse. No matter where you are on your healing journey, welcome to the podcast. Now, I want to thank our sponsors, Global Glamping Charities, say that quickly, for their valued support. Their primary purpose is to solve homelessness in all its forms. This includes people facing real potential of economic homelessness from the gap between real wages and the cost of living, and this affects by natural disasters and women who are fleeing from domestic violence. So we are proud to be sponsored by Global Glamping Charities. Now, today we've got a very special guest all the way from the other side of the planet, and it's Erin Parsley. I just love her last name. It's one of my favorite herbs. She's the founder of Steps of Love, and she's going to dive in deep to explain what that looks like. She's an award-winning professional dance choreographer and dancer, and she's an educator in and around embodiment coach. So I really want to find out more about what this is. Erin, hello and welcome.
Hi, so happy to be here with you, Charlene, and all of our listeners. So thank you for having me. I'm super excited to share today.
Lovely. What time of the day is it for you?
Oh, afternoon. Let's see, just coming up on 4 p.m. So.
I love it, isn't it? It's brought us closer together. We can connect all over the world. I love it. So now you've got a fascinating story about how you've got to this end result where you're helping people really love their bodies, and you have some amazing offerings. But can you please, if you don't mind, Erin, if you're okay, just take us through a little bit of your journey, because I find it absolutely fascinating.
Absolutely. I would love to share and share about where I've been and this journey to get to where I am today, because it's been quite a roller coaster. So I had a very difficult childhood. Unfortunately, it was pretty much just all filled with abuse. It did not set the stage for a secure and healthy connection to life or to myself. I've battled lots and lots of anxiety, lots of emotional trauma that I have had to overcome. So as a teenager, I was subject to years of emotional manipulation and sexual molestation by my dance mentor. So just to back up a moment, I knew from the time I was 3 years old that I wanted to be a professional ballerina. People ask me, how did you decide to dance? And I'm like, I didn't ever decide. I literally was born to dance. There was no other option. I just knew. So by the time I was 9 years old, I was on a professional ballet training path. And I think you know, Charlene, because you shared that you had ballet training also, if you want to be a professional as a ballerina, you basically have to give up your entire life to accomplish that. It's an extreme sport that is also an art. So we are extreme athletes that make it look super easy, and and express ourselves through that also. And that's where the art comes in. So it's intense, but that's what I was here to do. I just knew it. So I had been training basically 5 to then 6 days a week, starting from the time I was 9 years old. And that's all I wanted to do. Single pointed focus was become a ballerina. And I was willing to give up everything in my life in order to accomplish that dream. So the mentor I had, who was an amazing teacher, very, very talented, very good choreographer, very well respected in the ballet world and in the studios that I was a part of learning to dance. He took advantage of me for many, many years. And it was the first relationship of any sort that I ever had in terms of beyond, my family or just like friends, right? So unfortunately, I feel like he stole my innocence. And yet that's not true. I am still innocent to this day. And this is what I've discovered. However, he did take away my opportunity to come to romantic and sexual relationship naturally that I would have chosen as a child, right? So he took advantage of my trust for him and that power dynamic, that imbalance of him being the teacher and me being the student. He also was like a surrogate father to me because I also had a really challenging relationship with my father, who had a lot of rage, and I was very afraid of him growing up, honestly. So really, unfortunately, my entire childhood was really filled with abuse, and it was a big deal. It was really, really, really confusing. By the time I was in my 20s, my 20s were awful. I just didn't know what to do with myself. And I really didn't have support. I didn't have community support, family support. I was all on my own dealing with what had happened to me with all this abuse. And so, yes, I had very low self-esteem. I felt really disassociated from my desires, what I wanted in life, really from my self-value and my worth. I didn't feel good about myself. I was really numbed out in order to just deal with all of the pain. I couldn't speak up for myself. I didn't feel that I was able to have a voice. I didn't feel like I deserved to be happy, or that I would never be able to be happy or have healthy, functional relationships. And that was really difficult because I'm a big love bug. I'm very loving. I'm a very caring person. And my deepest passion is connecting with people, and always has been. And yet I didn't know how to bridge that gap to find healthy relationships, because I haven't had any modeled for me. So my 20s were really rough, really rough. In addition to beyond just this one teacher, also the whole ballet world, unfortunately, was giving me extremely negative messages about myself and my own body, telling me that I was fat, that I didn't have the right body type. And I really was very thin and very fit and really had a wonderful body for ballet, and yet it's never good enough. I mean, I was getting into all the elite schools, San Francisco Ballet, Boston Ballet, Houston Ballet. Like, I was being chosen to be in these like really elite schools, and yet I would still be being told constantly what was wrong with me, and especially wrong with my body. So it was very difficult. I was a super duper perfectionist, and I was my biggest critic. And I was hearing the negative messages from these people that I looked up to, that I was depending on literally to decide the direction of my career, because they were the ones that were going to choose. They were the gatekeepers into my dream at that time. So it was rough. Let's just say, yeah. So that's a history, like a short encapsulated history of what I was dealing with as a child in my formative years.
Wow. And, it's a story that we hear. So people of trust. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
how did you transition to the dynamic human being that you are now, living in a space of love, healed yourself, and now a healer of others, offering these beautiful processes in and around, body embodiment. And also, I'm especially fascinated about the work that you do on relationships and sex as well. So, because that's obviously, from that damaged past, now you've come through and now you're actually making a difference for others. So I'd love to know what the transition piece was for you, how you managed to move forward.
Yes, thank you for asking that. So it's been a process. I'm in my 40s now, so we're talking 20 years. It's taken time, and it's taken a lot of intention. Like, I just knew, I was like, even though I feel like I'm like damaged in a way, like emotionally just so traumatized, I still knew within myself, thank goodness, that I had this beautiful core, and that I was, oh my gosh, I'm going to get a little teary-eyed right now. Thank you. That I had this beautiful essence of me that had nothing to do with what had happened to me. And I was going to save her. I was like, I'm going to save you because I know you're in there. And I knew that I wasn't going to accept living the rest of my life feeling damaged. That just was not the possibility for me. So I made a really tough choice that felt scary, but I was just like, I'm going to save this beautiful essence of who Erin has always been, and find her and connect to her and live for her and make choices for her. So in, let's see, 2008, when I was, how old was I? I guess 32 at the time. I found out that the teacher that had abused me had opened his own dance studio, and I got extremely worried. Before, he had just been like a guest teacher at different studios. And I got very worried for the children he was going to be teaching, because I realized like they may very well end up being victims like I was. And so I knew I had to do something. So I filed a police report in California. Luckily, the statute of limitations, there wasn't a statute of limitations on the time from the time the abuse had happened. The only statute of limitations was from the moment you file a police report, you have 1 year to actually press charges and do something about it. So I filed a police report in February 2008. And the investigator, God bless his soul, I was very, very lucky. Stan Dutzman was his name, my angel. Took my case. He believed in me, and he said, I'm going to do everything possible to gather the kind of evidence we need to be able to press charges against this man, so that together we can really help make it a reality that he can't harm other dancers like you. So we ended up going through a 2-year legal process, and went to court, and I went to trial. I'm sorry, I actually didn't have to go to trial because I had a really amazing DA that was assigned to me, who was my other angel. And she fought for my case also. And so I did go to court, and I had to, put my case out there and had to do a victim impact statement, like just all these things. Like, it was really intense. For 2 years, this process went on. And I was having a lot of, I had to face him for the first time since seeing, my abuser like 10 years earlier it had been. And I ended up seeing him and talking to him and having to interact with him. And it was hard, but I was determined to do this. So 2-year legal process, we went to court, and he ended up doing a plea bargain and being convicted as a sex offender with 3 counts of felonies of molestation against a minor. And he was convicted. So being able to speak my truth, and there was a lot of backlash too, because there was a lot of people in his community that trusted him, believed in him, all the students and parents that hadn't experienced that side of him, but looked up to him as this like amazing figure. Like, we're saying all these terrible things about me on the internet. This was like way back before like Facebook and everything, but still, like when the news came out in the local newspaper, there was comments underneath, and there was hundreds of comments of people saying all these terrible things about me. And yet it didn't faze me because I knew the truth. And I just really was like, I know the truth, and I know that what I'm doing is both for myself and my healing and saving myself, and also saving his future victims. So I forged ahead, and went through this whole process, and even like I called the local newspapers and the local television stations all myself, and they showed up at court, because I wanted as many people to know as possible so that they wouldn't be victimized by him.
Oh, so
public
powerful.
space. Yeah.
So powerful.
And this was a long time before the Me Too movement became more popular in the public consciousness. So it was before the Me Too movement. So I essentially was doing my own Me Too movement. And again, this was way back before this conversation was acceptable in public. So it took a ton of courage for me to be able to stand up for myself and speak about it finally, and make this very public stand against what had happened to me.
Absolutely. And from what I can hear is that it started with that level of intention. So for listeners, what are you setting as your intention? What could that look like? And then I heard you say the words that you rescued yourself. And so sometimes we need to rescue ourselves. We need to start with that level of intention, and then we need to, be our own hand that helps us move forward. And then I heard you say, take back your power. And how can we, listeners, take back our power? Is it confronting our abusers? Is it forgiving them and moving forward? Whatever it looks like for you, how can you take your power back so that you can stand in your own level of authority? I love what you've done. I love what you've done for the community. And, you've taken the hard knocks so that other people don't have to. And you've protected the children that are in his proximity. So you've taken all of that, and now you work to make a difference for other people and how they see their bodies, and literally healing through the body. So can you maybe talk a little bit about how you take all of these pieces of the puzzle and put it together to create a beautiful program that helps people heal basically from the inside out?
Thank you so much. I love hearing your reflections. It's just, it makes me feel very seen. Thank you. So I just want to say also that not all of us have the opportunity to do what I did, which is make it public, which is be able to go to court, which, unfortunately, a lot of cases never see the light of day. So I want to presence that. It was through my tenacity. I do take credit for what happened. I definitely take credit. And I had angels guiding me, like, thank you. Like, I know that it all worked out for me, and it was transformation. It was a pivot point for me speaking publicly about what happened. Not everyone will have that opportunity. However, there is more acceptance now in the public consciousness around speaking about abuse. So that is a nice and very important shift that I've seen happen since I went through this 14 years ago now. Oh my goodness, it was that long ago. So that's the great thing. And I think it is important, if you feel called, to make your experience public. If you don't, that's for you to tune into, right? What's right for you. I don't think that you have to do that in order to heal. If you want to do that and you feel like you must, which I did, then you must do that and have the courage to do that. And there's different ways to do that also. It doesn't have to be through the legal system, which may not be possible for you, but it can be through sharing your voice in different forms. So there are I got involved in the 1 Billion Rising movement. And this is a movement started by Eve Ensler, and it happens on V-Day, which is Valentine's Day, but they call it V-Day. And it's a global, worldwide movement to raise awareness specifically around violence against women and girls, which I identify as, so I was a part of it. And this is a wonderful movement for anyone that suffered abuse to get involved with. And you can share your story and find other people around the world that come together on V-Day to raise awareness and speak about that we need to end violence, domestic violence. So I actually ended up becoming a leader in that movement. This is when I still lived up in Canada, actually. And I led groups of people in the theater through movement together. So I choreographed a dance, and the entire auditorium of people, and then myself leading them, dance together to take a stand against violence. And then I also shared, it's beautiful. There's actually videos on my YouTube channel. You can go see that experience. It's like really, when I watch it still to this day, I still cry. I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like hundreds of people, maybe thousands, I don't remember how many, like all dancing together. I also gave a speech that day from stage, sharing my entire experience, actually. So that was really powerful for me too. That was the first time, other than in court, that I had really spoken about like the whole experience. So there's different ways to get involved with sharing your story. So I just want to say that.
That is
Now,
so beautiful.
On the personal side of it, there's a lot of interpersonal work that needs to be done that I've been doing for myself. So yes, speaking publicly changed my life and allowed me to find my voice in a way that I never had before. Like, people that meet me now cannot believe it when I tell them that I used to be super, super shy and couldn't speak up to save my life. They're like, what? Now that's not a problem. But it's true. So yes, finding my voice was vital. And the internal work that I've been doing for 2 decades now has been vital also. And that's a continual work. Honestly, it's continual. To this day, I still do it. I do it all the time. There's so many ways to do that. What helps me so much, what helped me was being in nature and connecting to nature. I lived in the Canadian wilderness for 8 years. I was homesteading and I was surrounded by nature, like so wild. I had grizzly bears on my property. Okay. Just to give you a little picture here. And I just kind of had to get away from like society for a while to really go in, connect to nature, connect to Mother Earth, and do a lot of meditation and a lot of journaling and a lot of practices to just like heal myself, and a lot of dance, a lot of improvisational movement in nature. And that is what healed me and helped me connect to myself, my pure spiritual essence, and my body. So I had to really go deeply internal after that 2-year legal process. I was like, okay. And then I went and like was a hermit for a while. Not totally. I was still actually completely teaching dance classes and like working with people. But, in my private time, I was like in my own internal process. So I've developed so many tools, so many practices, so many things that have helped me heal my emotional body and my spiritual body and my connection to my physical body. And dance has been a vital part of that. For me, reclaiming movement, reclaiming dance from the abusers, from the toxic ballet world, from the world of dance, which I say can be very toxic, but reclaiming the pure essence of dance, that pure love I have for movement in my own way is what really healed myself. It's what healed me, because dance is my first love. You know, also what brought me abuse, and the pure act of dancing is amazing, right? So letting go of the world of dance and what had happened to me because of other people, and to be clear, it's other people that are doing this, right? It's other unhealed people with their own toxicity that are doing that. You know, that's the people that abuse are people that are deeply wounded themselves.
I find dance very powerful. I find that it is a way for us to reconnect with our inner power. And yeah, so I'd love you to explain a little bit more, if you can, just briefly, the programs that you have on offer that our listeners can even buy into today, because we've got an offer for you that's greatly reduced, and we've also got some freebies as well. Could you maybe share with us that? And the team will share the links in the description and also in the comments below.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is my business now, is Steps to Love. And it's all about stepping into love and connection to yourself and then to others. Because to have those really beautiful, functional, fulfilling, deeply intimate relationships with other people that are in our lives, we must first experience that with our own selves. It starts with us. We can't find it through others. We find it through our own connection to ourselves. And then there's more skills to learn to connect to others, yes, but it must start from that foundation of love with ourselves. So Steps to Love. So I guide people, all gender orientations, any expression. I'm very committed to being an inclusive company. I love to work with any size, race, gender expression, sexual orientation. It's all about accepting who you are. So I just want to presence that. So it's all, I help you to connect to yourself, your inner, internal, beautiful essence, your essence, which is untouched by any abuse you may have experienced. That took me a long time to realize that. And when I did, I just kept like tuning into that truth. Like within me, there's this untapped, untouched well of goodness that cannot be affected by what's happened to me. So tuning into that essence of who you are underneath your life experiences is really powerful. And doing a lot of work, I do a lot of work with my inner child too. So this has been really powerful for me, really powerful, because this is what I realized, Charlene, is that I had saved my adult Erin by going through the process of speaking out against my abuser and going to court. Like now as the adult Erin, I'm like, yay, I have a voice. I can speak up for myself. I feel good about myself. But what I realized is that my little inner child Erin, who had actually been the one suffering all the abuse, she still was left behind. She didn't feel like she was really taken care of. So I needed to look at that. And this has just been work I've been starting to really focus on in the last few years, actually, and start to do a lot of deep internal work with my inner child, Erin Elizabeth, I call her, and getting to know who she is and what she needs, and basically reparenting her. So this is really important, and it's a really big missing piece for a lot of healing work. If we don't go back and bring our little inner child, who was the one that suffered and was confused about what the heck was happening to them in their life, like if we don't bring them into our present experience, we will never fully free ourselves from emotional trauma and move forward into the dream life that we see for ourselves and the dream relationships that we want to have with those around us, because we still have a very wounded, scared inner child within us. So this is important work that I also do. So it's very multifaceted. It's hard to explain exactly the work I do, it's really in the moment. I've really come to know that I'm deeply intuitive and I know exactly how to help people in the moment. So every session I have with clients is always different. But really the essence of it is about embodiment practices, guiding you through breath work and different ways to just feel the sensations of your body, because we're so taught to be disconnected from our bodies in our culture, right? And we're taught to use our minds to guide our lives. And this is the absolute wrong approach. We need to feel what's going on with our bodies because our body keeps the score, as that book title says. I've done a lot of studying and reading around all of this also, lots and lots of reading. So the body keeps the score, and yet our body is our only true home. If you think about it, it's the only place we live in our lifetime. We always have our body. We always have our body with us, no matter where we move. I've moved around a lot in my life, but I always have me. This is my home. So if we're not comfortable in our own home, we'll never feel comfortable in the world, right? So I really do different practices, breath work, movement, not full on dance, although sometimes people want more dance also. It's really depending on what the client wants, but just different practices that help you connect to your body, your sensation of your body, how you're feeling, how the emotions come up and where they live in the body. And then mindfulness practices to really actually ironically get out of the mind and get into the sensation of the body to really learn how it feels to have different emotions, right? Because as victims of abuse, we can really divorce ourselves from our emotions because they're too painful to feel. So
and even our body, we can divorce ourselves from our body because
totally.
this is where the abuse happened, and
where it happened, and that's where the feelings live. Our physical body is what's holding all these experiences and memories for us. So it's a beautiful adjunct. I definitely recommend I've had different therapists as also. So trauma-informed therapy is super important. And as an addition, embodiment coaching then can be really impactful because you get to really tune in to who you are and how you feel through your body. And like I said, that inner child that lives within you, really learning to connect to them is just, it's just so healing, so powerful. It's like I let her be a partner in my life now, and it's really directing me. It's helping me to learn what's good for me by honoring her feelings and her needs and her fears and all her sensations. By honoring her, I'm able to really take good care of her and know much better, like, is this person good for me? Do I feel good in this situation? Do I want to do this thing? How do I feel now? So it's this beautiful partnership that makes me feel really safe. Both my adult Erin and my little Erin. We feel really safe now because we have each other.
I love it. I love it. You'll never be alone because you've always got your child self with you. I love it. It's been a wonderful half an hour. It doesn't even feel like a half an hour. I think I could talk to you all day, Erin. It's been a beautiful experience. And we've got Erin's links here so that you can dive in. And she's got an amazing offer for the listeners. So click the link and have a look. And we've also got a freebie as well, which is a meditation. Is that right?
Yeah. So sorry, I didn't even quite mention it. So I'm offering a single embodiment session at a third of the price that I normally offer it for. Yep. Just for Healing Through Love listeners. So if you go to the link that we're going to put below, you will be able to click right onto the special offer page that's just for you. So that brings the price all the way down to $100 from $295. And then I also offer a guided embodiment meditation, which is a video that you can watch, you can listen to. It's me guiding you through an embodiment meditation so you can learn how to connect into yourself, calm your nervous system, and really tune in with being present in your body as a true home, right?
I love it.
And that's totally free. You just sign up and stay connected to me via email. And I like to send emails. So I don't like bombard you with emails, but when I get inspired, like I'll send out a little story, of what's going on with me, because I do a lot of interesting things in my life. Now I also live in Mexico. I became a legal resident of Mexico also. So I do a lot of cool adventures. I like to share stories about all the new neat things that I'm doing in my life now that I trust myself, right? That's the difference. So anyways, you can go there and sign up for my email list and receive that guided embodiment meditation also. So it would just be my pleasure to connect with you. You can also find me on Instagram and just send me a DM. I really, truly care about your healing. And I really, really know that you can overcome the sense of being damaged, because I have. And that it's a process, but if you're committed to just loving yourself up, you'll get there. You can do it. I've done it.
Setting that intention, rescuing yourself, and then, stepping into your power. I love it. It's been a privilege and a pleasure, Erin. It's a goodbye from us. And thank you for tuning in to Healing Through Love. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.